This video is about a silent river. A silent river is a dead river because bait fish and small fish are constantly on the shore, splashing around. Bigger fish are striking them. The river is alive. Now, I've been going for 25 years, married with children, and when I finally returned to my boyhood home, the river I grew up on is dead and it's silent. This is going to be my story, and what I have to share with you is not really good news, but I want you to be aware of what is happening in your river too, no matter where you are in the world, whatever country you're in. If there's a city near it, you got a big problem. Now, what really mucked everything up in the east coast of the United States, the estuaries, saltwater tidal marshes, where the young fish, shrimp and crabs and flounder, everything, every kind of fish in the ocean would breed and raise their young because it's shallow, they're protected. They dug a ditch. They dug a big intercoastal waterway from Boston, Massachusetts over to Brownsville, Texas. That was supposed to save U.S. shipping from the German submarines, and it did. But what it did, it complicated the estuary, which relied on shallow tidal flows to carry the fry and the microscopic young up into the shallow brackish water basins where they could grow up large, a little bit half grown, then take the tide back out into the ocean where they could grow up and then breed again. The cycle renewed. However, that ditch killed more sea life than it helped. That one there. Here I am walking down the river looking for flounder, which I did my entire youth. There's nothing there.
Nothing.
When you're getting
When
these
you're getting
rocks,
these rocks,
get up
flounder
right
right
around
around
the
the
rocks.
rocks.
But you notice
There's no bait fish.
Well, that's
Well,
odd.
that's odd.
I don't know
but
why.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because the water temperature is February.
February 7th.
7th.
Now, in the 1800s and early 1900s, the big 20 to 30 pound channel bass would come up the Halifax River to spawn. As you see, they used to catch the heck out of them. But 25 years ago, even earlier than that, maybe 40 years ago, as a kid, I would stand on the bridge and watch the 10-pound channel bass spawn. Big trout, 8, 9, 10-pound trout spawning too. All the fish came up into the Halifax River and spawned. They no longer can do that. There is an exception. One sea animal will go up through sewage, through pollution, through carcinogens, and spawn, lay eggs, raise babies. Then they come back down every month in the high tide. At night, they rise to the surface and they float out to the ocean. So in this case, the shrimp is the last animal to survive this river. However, it has died. Now, during World War II, when the Intercoastal Waterway was created and the channel was dug, they made this small city run their sewer line out to the ditch, to the deep water, where the sediments and pollutants would settle down into the water. And the shrimp coming out of Tomoka Basin every month would hide in it because it's pollutants, it's mud, it's muck, it's nasty, but the shrimpers would burn them. They would catch it by the coolers. A law had to be passed, 5 gallons a bucket of shrimp per boat. Now that leads me to the problem. What happened to the sewer pipe since it's rotted away in the last 80 years? Guess what? It's right here beside me. It is the freshwater canal that drains the whole interior of Volusia County and drains fresh water out in the river, which is breeding grounds for baby fish. No, it isn't. You stand here in low tide, you can't even breathe. It is pure sewage. So now they're dumping the sewage on the edge of the river, no longer out in the channel. And that's what killed the river. Here I am walking the edge of the river looking for sea life under the rocks. There are none. And I'm 2 miles south of this small city. Why pollution released in shallow water kills estuaries is because the tidal forces push it everywhere. It's the pollution in the entire ecosystem of this estuary. It's so bad here in Volusia County, it went north 10 miles and destroyed the Tomoka Basin. Now, the Tomoka Basin is the birthplace of shrimp, and the shrimping industry relies on that. So what's happened, the shrimping industry raised a ruckus. They're losing millions. There's no longer any shrimp to catch offshore, where they mature, lay eggs, which wash back up in the tide into the basin. So it's dead. So they promised, the politicians, of course, they promised we're going to make a new inlet up north of Tomoka Basin. We're going to make a new inlet. We're going to dig it through the peninsula. No, they're not. It's just a political excuse. So what's happened is the pollution's all the way down to Mosquito Lagoon near Cape Canaveral. And it's even dying. Everything's dying on the east side of Florida because they let the pollution, the sewage, on the edge of the river. They're no longer put in the middle of the river like our great-grandfathers demanded before World War II. And that is the issue. For greed, this small city wanted to save money to make a park instead of replacing the 80-year-old pipe. I'm going to show you the park now. Now, the first thing you see when you come on this park, this $250 million park that replaced a rotting 80-year-old sewer line that led out to the channel, you see a sign about manatees. Florida loves its manatees. We do, but with the extreme northern edge of manatees down in the Caribbean, they kill and eat them. So what our manatees do in the summer, they take the St. Johns River north. That's the freshwater manatees with plenty of seafood, plenty of weeds to eat. Hyacinth, they'll eat hyacinth. There's plenty of hyacinths in the St. Johns River. Then some will get, and when it gets fall, they got to head back south. Some will come down the Intercoastal Waterway. So we have these signs that you got to be careful the first 300 yards. Every manatee I've seen in my youth in the 80s came down the channel. They want to get through here and get out of here. Why? Because there's no seaweed. The closest seaweed is down in Mosquito Lagoon, which is now under threat near Cape Canaveral. So you still see the signs, and you see a lot of jet skis. People are splashing and playing in this water when a city sewer of 5,000 people is dumping their sewage right into it. And I found that extremely odd. But the manatees, don't worry about them. They will just go right on by because there's nothing for them to eat. And they're going to pass on through, head down to Mosquito Lagoon. Smoking gun. It's a freshwater canal that drains the east side of Volusia County into the Halifax River. Naturally, it's a good habitat for fish, but now when you stand at this bridge at low tide, you can't stand the stench. It's 100% sewage. There's been no rain the last month or so, so nothing that's coming out of this that was put into it is sewage. It never was this way. You can catch fish out here, not anymore. So if this video shocks you, get ready for some more bad news. The EPA is letting cities dump more raw sewage in the rivers for years to come. It's only just beginning. Because corporations, which are cities or corporations, they want to save money, they want to make pretty parks, destroy old sewage systems because they're smarter than their grandparents were. And then the government, which is also a corporation, supports them. If you raise Cain or try to stop it, they will block you. It's normal. That's like I say, Volusia County said we're digging a new inlet. They're not. It's never going to happen. And that is why we don't see sewage warning signs. Sewage is dumped right in the river, jet skis, people swimming, wading, fishing. Even I waded in it floundering and went home, took a shower. just out of caution. But I will always, in fact, I'm never going in the river again. But you don't see these signs anymore because the EPA slacked off the rules. And that's a bad thing for everybody. Now, as I'm walking away from the sewage-ridden canal, I see this old man feeding the ibis. Ibis are shorebirds. They feed on crustaceans on the side of rivers. They've resorted to begging for food, like pigeons. This flock who's raised their children, the children of the dark ones, they were last year's brood. They're raising them to beg here at the park. And I said to the old man, he said, you might as well feed them. There's nothing for them to eat in the river. He didn't know what I mean, but now you know what I mean. And even though my county's river is dead, how's the condition of yours? So it's up to you to do something about it, and good luck, because it's too late for this river. Halifax River's dead, but maybe your river has a chance. So please, please try to do something about it. That's it for this video, and I'm glad that it's over, but I'll tell you what, it's very important to me. So hopefully it's important to you too. You have a good day and have a clean day.